Welcome to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 62, and the title of this episode is The Art of Distraction During the Economic Collapse. Okay, let's get right into it. Let's get right into the economic collapse news, and we see that the JGB futures halted again in Japan, and basically it's another night Japanese government bond futures halt. The last 2 days have seen JGB prices plunge at the fastest rate since the post-Lehman debacle in September-October 2008, smashing back to 13-month highs. Basically, we're seeing this this happen quite a bit, and they continually, halt it. And I put on this page on the x22report.com page of the graph. This is from Zero Hedge of each time they had a halt this, and you can just see it each time. And we have another story out in Greece where the government threatens to arrest teachers over a strike. In Athens, it looks like the teachers are going to strike, and the government is warning them not to, and basically the Greek government has invoked emergency laws to force strikers to return to work. And it looks like, it could get messy. It could be a little crazy to see how this plays out, and this is coming in the next couple of days. Now, I watched an interview with Greg Hunter and Nick Barashev, and basically he was talking about global hyperinflation. And this kind of fits in with the story that we heard, trillions of dollars coming back to the U.S. And basically he goes on to say, that, usually when there's a big drop in the price of paper, there's also a drop in demand on physical gold. This is the first time I can remember that it has gone the opposite way. People are perceiving the drop in price as a gigantic buying opportunity. It's on sale at a lower price. A dollar is going to dramatically lose value. And basically he goes on to say, when I listened to the debt ceiling debate in 2011, it became crystal clear the debt situation wasn't going to be resolved, so it is accelerating, and the relationship between the U.S. debt and gold is almost a perfect correlation. And, from everything that we're seeing now, it looks like we're seeing deflation. It looks like things are starting. I noticed some food prices are starting to drop in price. And again, I believe what's going to happen is we're going to have this deflation first, and then we're going to be hit with this hyperinflation as all this money that we've been exporting out of the United States comes rolling back into the U.S. Now, out in Syria and Turkey, there was an explosion, and right on the border. And this, it looked to me, this is starting to look like, we tried the chemical weapon route. Israel tried bombing Syria, trying to get them to retaliate, and it looks like the government was telling us that we're going into Syria for humanitarian reasons. They were trying everything and anything to get this war started. So what did they do? They exploded something in Turkey, and now Turkey, wants to retaliate, but not without the blessing of the U.S. And the U.S. can use Turkey as a backdoor to get into Syria to start this war. And God, they're really trying everything and anything to get this war started. And you see this over and over. Again, this is not going to work. The polls that have been taken and everything that we've seen, the people are just not into war. And they're going to have to really, and when I say they, is the central bank and the government, they're going to have to do something to convince the people. And this is what I'm worried about, them doing something horrific here to get us into this war. So, we're going to have to watch this because, anything can happen at this point, because they are losing ground. The rebel forces are not doing well. Nobody's really paying attention out there, and especially with the Benghazi hearings that are going on here in the States, it's starting to look, it looks like they're going to be desperate by the time they need to get all this done. And when you're desperate, you do things that you normally wouldn't do, and to the nth degree. So we're going to have to watch this. Now, I saw a headline saying that 12 were shot in a Mother's Day parade. I watched this video. They're saying he's the shooter, but in his hand, it didn't look like a gun. I don't know. I mean, this is the information's still coming out. We don't know if they're going to use this as an opportunity for the for gun control. But I saw this video that they have of this man, and they've zoomed in on his hand, and that does not look a gun like a gun to me. So I don't know what it is. Now, in New Jersey, state senators, I guess, left their microphone on, and they came out to say basically some revealing things over the mic that they didn't know it was on. And basically, once everything was shut down, at least they thought it was shut down, they came out with, we needed a bill that was going to confiscate. They want to keep the guns out of the hands of the bad guys, but they don't have any regulations to do it. They don't care about the bad guys. All they want to do is have their little guns and do whatever they want with them. That's the line they've developed. So basically, you can see, and we've said this all along, all these people in government, all they want to do is take away the guns. The president kicked it off, his administration, because he knows exactly what's happening. He knows the collapse is coming, and an armed populace is a populace that cannot be controlled, and they know this, and when the economic collapse comes, this is going to be their major problem. But interestingly enough, Judge Alex Kozinski basically came out to say that the Second Amendment is the ultimate doomsday provision. Basically, in his dissent, Judge Alex Kozinski argued with the very reasoning our founding fathers used to include the right to bear arms in the U.S. Constitution. Basically, this is what this article goes on to say. All too many of the other great tragedies of history, Stalin's atrocities, the killing fields of Cambodia, the Holocaust, to name but a few, were perpetrated by armed troops against unarmed populations. Many could well have been avoided or mitigated, and the perpetrators, known their intended victims, were equipped with a rifle, 20 bullets apiece, as the Militia Act required here. If a few hundred Jewish fighters in the Warsaw Ghetto could hold off, I'm going to try to pronounce Wehrmacht for almost a month with only a handful of weapons, 6 million Jews armed with rifles could not so easily have been herded into cattle cars. My excellent colleagues have forgotten these bitter lessons of history. The prospect of tyranny may not grab the headlines the way vivid stories of gun crime routinely do, but few saw the Third Reich coming until it was too late. The Second Amendment is a doomsday provision, one designed for those exceptionally rare circumstances where all other rights have failed, where the government refuses to stand for re-election and silences those who protest, where courts have lost the courage to oppose or can find no one to enforce their decrees. However improbable these contingencies may seem today, facing them unprepared is a mistake a free people get to make only once. And this was in Judge Alex Kozinski dissenting in Silveria versus Lockyer. And you can see this on the page, and also I have a link to the full text so you can see that entire thing. Okay, moving on. So basically we're finding out that in the immigration bill, there's a national biometric database for citizens where they're going to take your face, a picture of your face, and feed this into a computer system. And basically, they're going to have a registry of everyone, which will be tied to, your name, your age, social security number. So basically, they can expand this to drones that take pictures and identify the people on the ground, those people who have the militia, those people who have guns, those people. So basically, they're building a registry of people and a registry of, well, they want to build a registry of gun owners and probably compare the two. So this was buried in more than 800 pages in this immigration bill, and it's amazing how they always bury things. It's always someplace, far, far in. These congressmen, senators, nobody reads this stuff. Nobody reads it. They just vote without reading everything because, too many pages. I can't read this. And this is ridiculous. It's what's the use of having all of these people if they're not going to do their job? Now, there was another piece of information that elite gather on gated island for secret meeting. Bill Gates, it was led by Bill Gates and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and Michael Bloomberg, Oprah, Warren Buffett, the potential presidential hopeful Jeb Bush is also reported to be attending. Now, what they're doing there, I have no clue, but it's just very strange that they're going off to a secret meeting, and somebody picked this up, and I can only imagine what is being said in this meeting. Just like they had the secret meeting of all the billionaires back when they created the Federal Reserve. Now, moving on. Now, there was another story about cyber attacks again, and this story is talking about cyber attacks hitting energy firms. And this was in the New York Times this time. And basically, it goes on to say, a new wave of cyber attacks is striking American corporations, prompting warnings from federal officials, including a vague one issued last week by the Department of Homeland Security, which we all know about, that they said something is going to happen and it's going to be a nuisance, and nothing really came out except they found that ring of people that were stealing money from ATMs and things like that. And this time, officials say the attacker's aim is not espionage, but sabotage, and the source seems to be somewhere in the Middle East. Now, interesting. Before it was China, now it's the Middle East. I guess just everybody's just attacking us. The targets have primarily been energy companies, and the attacks appeared to be probes looking for ways to seize control of their processing systems. The attacks are continuing, officials said, but two senior administration officials said Sunday that they were still not certain exactly where the attacks were coming from or whether they were state-sponsored. We are concerned by these intrusions, and we are trying to make sure they don't lead to something much, much bigger. Now, as we know, there is going to be some type of a cyber attack coming. They continually tell us this. We know it's coming. We know they're going to hit the energy, the power grid, which also affects the water systems, which also affects the internet, which also affects many, many other things. And I believe in 2003, when we had the East Coast power outage, this was a test to see how they could do it, how people would react, and if it's possible to do this on a grand scale. And the test was successful. It was out for it was like 2 days, I believe, and everything was shut off. Trains weren't working, ATMs weren't working. Lights, air conditioning, food was going bad. People in the city, when I was there, were selling all their food because refrigeration wasn't working. Some generators didn't work because they haven't been tested. Some generators ran out of fuel. They couldn't get fuel in. So everyone that has a generator that doesn't keep fuel or only has a certain amount of fuel, you have to remember, you think, oh, I'll just get fuel, but these fuel companies still have to pump the fuel out, bring it over, and when you have no electric, everything is much, much harder. There's no lights. There's a lot of factors that go into this. And I realized this when I was in the city, and there was one building that waited a full day before a truck even arrived with fuel. So, they are planning something on a large scale, and it's not going to be 1 or 2 days. It's going to be weeks before we see electric turn back on, because I really do believe that they are setting this up to be the ultimate false flag to get us into war, to cover up the economic collapse, to steal the money from the people, and blame it on someone else. And this way, the government central bankers are completely off the hook, and the complaints are elsewhere. And this will make people angry. People will get sick. People will die. And because those people who are not prepared will not be ready, they will be looting in the streets. Because think about it. After 6, 7 days of no electric, people, how am I going to feed my family? I don't have water. I don't have supplies. My batteries ran out. I don't have a generator. I have a generator, but fuel ran out 2 days ago. So we're going to see a lot of crazy things happen when this cyber attack hits. And, we're going to have to be prepared for this. And I know I keep repeating myself, but this is coming. Now, there was an article about a false flag alert. What I say? False flag alert. High chance of stage event in the next few days. Now, basically, we know they need to start World War III. We have Benghazi now with these hearings, and basically President Obama and his administration threw out a distraction with this IRS thing about them targeting different groups. And this is the way I see it. The hearings weren't going well. His administration and himself are being implicated. So they did a wag the dog, small football lob out there, and they came out with this IRS thing to get the heat off of the Benghazi thing. So they're distracting the American public. And that was pretty much, throughout the mainstream media, the IRS, the IRS, the IRS, blah, 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 to get it off of his administration. And basically they're saying that the IRS and the White House, is there any connection? No, there's zero connection. Of course it's zero connection. This is a complete distraction. But again, the war is not going well, and they know it. The collapse is still coming. Things are still in motion, which they cannot stop. Everything is still happening. So basically, what this is saying here is, this is a short but urgent warning. A false flag event, an act of war, a bombing, or some other headline-grabbing orchestrated event is very likely to occur in the next 7 days, precisely because the Obama administration is under intense fire right now and needs a quick distraction. Now, they tried a distraction with the IRS. We'll see if that, keeps it going, and see if they can keep that distraction going. But as we move on through here, they do have the scandal, but again, they're going to have to perform something to get this war started. And we are definitely going to see something happen. Now, this goes on to say, whatever the false flag is, it needs to be visually and emotionally shocking. So expect children to be sacrificed as part of it. Nothing grabs headlines on CNN faster than the blood of a child. And basically they're saying this is what they need right now to get this the Benghazi thing completely off of what's happening there. Now, what's funny is, and I think back to 9/11, the day before, September 10th, It was about, I think it was Rumsfeld, that there was $2.3 trillion missing, and there was a hearing starting on that, and all of a sudden we had 9/11. And I do agree with this, that something will happen, and I think they just did a distraction with the IRS, and I believe they're starting with that, see how that goes. If that doesn't gain traction, they will move up to a larger distraction, and that might even be entangled with bringing us to war, or it might be entangled with the gun confiscation. So we're going to have to really look at this. I put on the X-22 report site false flag, potential false flags. Today was that exercise in Dorney Park. Not much has happened, but we do have a drill coming up in New York City starting July 1st about chemical weapons being dispersed in the subway system. Now, they don't need these drills to do a false flag. It could happen anywhere at any time. So, but usually it runs around if they call FEMA or DHS or some other type of drill. It seems to go hand in hand when they're doing this stuff. So we're going to have to keep an eye out on this. But definitely something is going to happen because there's too many things left on the table. We have CISPA on the table. Just think about this. What they do is they either have the bill or the laws on their desk, or they leave it pending in the Senate. It already got approved in the House. Now it just sits and waits in the Senate. They don't remove it. It's in a pending state. They have the gun bill still pending in the Senate. They still have CISPA pending in the Senate. So we will definitely see something. Something will definitely be happening. And it's with all these news articles coming out, the last one being in the New York Times, they keep on hammering home that our infrastructure, power grid, energy firms, something's coming. They keep warning us. That's just a signal to let us know something is going to happen. Listen, everyone. Thanks for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks.